Okay, what's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys today with with August's Harpie deck profile. Um, I'm going to be trying a couple of new ideas for Harpies because I know well, one, it's August. We still don't know what our ban list is um for the TCG. There's a lot of things that we still kind of are in the dark about because, of course, it's Konami. But whether we're in the dark or not in the dark, deck profiles are still going to have to be made. So, besides trying new ideas for the deck, I'm also going to be trying some other deck profiles out, and I'll be trying to get those up as soon as possible for you guys to at least start off August strong. So with this variation of Harpies, it's kind of just stuff I put in, put out, and just at least to have one up for right now. Now, when the ban list comes out and things change, then I will not only review the ban list, but I will also make a new Harpie deck to go along with it. So, with that said and done, let's just get into the deck profile. So, I'm just gonna do it like I used to do it, just no, I like to actually still the method that I go through anyway. That way we can just get through the deck and stuff faster. So, for my lineup, I'm running 3 copies of Harpie Chandler. I'm running 3 copies of Harpie Queen. 3 copies of Harpie's Harpist. I'm running 2 copies of Harpie Lady 1 and a copy of Cyber Harpie Lady. Then following them, I'm running 2 copies of Harpie Dancer and 1 copy of Harpie's Pet Dragon. And then the last monsters in my lineup are 2 copies of Summoner Monk. So that's my monster lineup. For my spells, I'm running 3 copies of Hysteric Sign, 3 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground, 1 copy of Elegant Egotist, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, 1 copy of Regeki, 1 copy of Dark Hole, 1 Monster Reborn, and 1 Symbols of Heritage. So that's my spell lineup. For my traps, I'm running 3 copies of Harpie's Featherstorm, 3 copies of Hysteric Party, 2 copies of the Anti-Spell Fragrance, 2 Solemn Strikes, and 1 Solemn Warning to round out the last of my main deck. For my extra, I'm running a full set of Great Fly. I'm running 1 Firefighter Daruma Doll. I'm running 1 Decode Talker. I'm running Tornado Dragon, Lightning Chidori, Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, Castell, and Ice Beast. And then to round out the last of my exceeds, I'm running 1 Cowboy, 1 Harpie, 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, 1 Big Eye, 1 Babuska, and 1 Galaxy Tomahawk. So, now that I've gone through the deck, let's just go over the things. So, well, I went and decided to go back to, I think one of the big questions will probably be the amount of 2 Harpie Lady, 1 to Cyber Harpie. I went back to Cyber Harpie because I wanted a beater. I wanted an easy discard and a decent enough monster that when I summon her, she can defend and do a lot more. I'm not saying that the Harpie Lady ones can't, but in a lot of preference, I wanted to try to go back to this version just because I like the additional name Cyber Harpie gives. I love the fact that it does put a beater on the board relatively just to a monster who has to accumulate more attack to really be much of a threat to not swing into. And then there's also still a lot of things that Cyber Harpie can get over that Harpie Lady 1 can't. Especially stuff that negates effects. Because she technically doesn't have any effect. She's just treated as Harpie Lady. because of her naming and her status as a Harpie lady. So that's why I chose to do the 2-to-1 ratio. As far as 2-to-1 ratios go, the 2 Harpie Dancer to in the 1 Harpie's Pet Dragon. Simply, this is just due to the fact that Dragon is still one of Harpie's most utilized monsters now because of the fact that we don't have our own Link monster. We're still using generic setup. We don't have access to a lot of things to create tokens. So with Dragon, at least going into Tomahawk or Draco Sack, if you choose to run Draco Sack, you have an options of monsters who can make tokens and can help you proceed on with a lot of Link summoning. Um, so reducing the 3 dancer to 2, does fit in the counter. I don't have to run into so many dancers, but it also leads in the fact that I wanted to run the dragon in general, to get into my 7 plays. That's also why Monster Reborn's still in the deck, because it's still a very easy way to access dragon if we lose dragon. As far as extra deck stuff support, we still have some of the greatest monsters locked behind rank 7, which, due to Chandler and Dragon, those are the only 2 that can help us get into those monsters. Because because while a dragon monster is on your side of the field, Chandler's level does change from 4 to 7, so it makes her get more access into summoning a lot of those rank 7 monsters. Especially if you go off real easy to making a ton of Link monsters thanks to Tomahawk. Now, as far as the rest of the ratios go, Chandler is pretty much your biggest monster. She is your best monster, your biggest monster to go into. She's the one that sets off a lot of your big plays. By discarding a Harpie card to summon a Harpie monster. Like I said, if you control Dragon, she'll change her level from 4 to 7. It gives you the access to your rank 7 plays. Not to mention Queen, Chandler, Dancer, and Harpies are treated as Harpie Lady while on the field in the graveyard. So they have full access to a lot of the Harpie utility cards like Harpie's Hunting Ground, Hysteric Party, Hysteric Sign, Elegant Egotist, and then, so far and so forth. Now, Harpie Queen, on the other hand, a lot of people probably would say run the 2 Harpie Queen. I like the 3 Harpie Queen because I can run into my beat stick, I can discard her to get Hunting Ground, and then not only that, but she sets up her Hysteric Party. She sets up for um, Symbols of Heritage. She fetches your Hunting Ground. She sequentially can even set up for Chandler, because Chandler needing a monster to discard, Queen could be a good option if you've already ran up all of your Hunting Grounds, or you've gotten to your Hunting Grounds a lot faster than you thought you would. Harpies is still a great searcher for the Harpie engine. Getting to Chandler as soon as you possibly can, getting the Dancer, or any of your variations of Harpie Lady. I do like her secondary effect. I just didn't want to throw in Divine Wind of Mist Valley. But if you are deciding to use her for that effect, to return a card your opponent controls that's face up, return a monster. To return monsters that are face up to the hand does really help get rid of a lot of threats. And there aren't too many Link monsters that have effects that can really just put them back onto the board and stuff like that. So Harpies does help in this sense. So that's pretty much why they're the ratio that they are. In terms of Summoner Monk, I wanted to go back to a monster who I felt the utility factor. Where's my monks? There they go. I could get a lot out of. The only big utility I get out of Summoner Monk is just discarding Hysteric Sign. Which I could run a whole bunch of things to discard Hysteric Sign, but the other benefit to Monk is that Monk allows me to get into a lot of my other Link plays, a lot of my other rank 4 monsters. And just a good setup card if you can get to him first turn. I do remember in one of my other videos, I was running Monk in alignment with Miss Valley Soldier, Garuda the Wind Spirit, the Wind Spirit. A lot of other rank 4, level 4 monsters. It's a lot that Monk can help you with in terms of rank 4s in Link summoning, because of how easy he can get to access of other level 4 monsters. So that's partially why I put Monk in here. The other partial is just because I needed a card to easily discard Hysteric Signs in case I drew into multiple of them, or I wanted to get into that Chandler to get into another monster and then go from there. As far as spells go, I didn't drop triple hunting ground. I still think I have a lot more utility with the triple hunting ground um, than just looking at it as a degenerate, as just a normal field spell. Even if traps aren't the biggest thing that a lot of the bigger decks are running, you always have to remember you still have rogue matchup, you still have by some weird chance mirror match. So you want to take advantage of having hunting ground as much as you possibly can, especially in a format where if you're playing anti-spell fragrance in your Harpie variant, you would want multiple copies of this card so that you can have full access to it and then have full control. Um, Not anything to really say about 3 sign because that's sign. I added a Foolish Burial to speed up the process of going into Harpist because I wanted full range to thin out my deck as possible. I didn't want to run Card of Demise because I'm not running a hefty trap build. I didn't want to run Pot of Desires because I don't want to lose 10 cards. Harpies are one of those decks where you don't want to lose your biggest utility setups. And because you're running 3 copies of it, sometimes you can easily lose 3 of your monsters. So it was something that I decided, well, Harpies benefit from the graveyard. Let's put stuff into the deck that at least can flesh stuff out. Foolish Burial being at 1 does tend to be a problem. But there was a lot of other options that I looked at and said, I don't want to run this because it's a lot of bad draw to trying to send stuff to the graveyard, especially at this time. When you don't want to send too much stuff to the graveyard if you're not controlling how much stuff you send to the graveyard. Or if you're thinning out your deck, you don't want to thin it out too much to where you can't use any of it. Or some of it, or your deck's gone halfway through because you've decided, here, I'll use Pot of Desire. Excuse me, Pot of Desires. And was the 2 cards really worth losing 10 out of your deck? Because you're technically just moving 12 cards out. And you're hoping that 2 of the cards that you draw into can really save you. And if they can't, then you kind of screwed yourself over. Same situation here that I can look at with Symbols of Heritage. A lot of people aren't running this card in Harpies. I understand because it is technically an equipped spell. Similar effect of Premature Burial, bringing a monster back, and you need to control the 3 monsters. I think what people probably don't understand is that it's no ruling on it that says exactly 3, and because of how Harpies work, you're pretty much bound to set to at least get 1 monster back from this. Which is why it's still at 1, because of the fact that Harpies can use it and abuse it. Cyber Dragon can abuse it and use it because they have so many monsters that treat themselves as as Cyber Dragon. And I can't remember too many other monsters that have something similar to that hold this card is treated as this card's name while in the graveyard. But I'm sure there's a couple that can try to abuse this or find a way to abuse it. So I understand why it's still at 1, but this is a good utility card if you're deciding to build up on your Harpie engine. As far as traps go, I wanted to keep my trap lineup as decent enough as I possibly could. So there was a lot of things that I wanted to just maintain in terms of its build. Pretty much Harpie's only trap cards are Hysteric Party and Harpie's Featherstorm. These get us out of jams. This gets us into a lot of big plays. These give us the room to do a lot of our big plays. I think it's just more so of the fact that we have 2 powerful spells. We have a powerful spell, we have a powerful trap, and we have a decent array of monsters. But I think we honestly do need more in terms of just setup and searchability, or at least draw power. Because sometimes you don't want to really have to rely so much on another archetype. But in the same sense, you want to rely on your own if your own at least had the support that it could have potentially. If that makes any sense. Because, even the thing is, we don't have cards to really search for Hysteric Party and Hysteric Sign. If we had access to those cards, then it'd be a lot easier. Now, running additional cards like Demise, Pot, I know there's this little cat thing that people were using too. Like at the end phase, you dropped it to get a continuous spell or a continuous trap and set it, which could help in a lot of instances, but also in the same sense, you still have to prep your board for what to resolve or what you would want to activate, as well as your graveyard, because you can't power push and you not have anything to really defend or go on offense with. Which is still, in a sense, why I like Hysteric Party and Harpie's Featherstorm, because Storm protects you while you're going off or while you're trying to defend. Hysteric Party sets up for the offensive or the defensive plays. Um, God, if we had Sparrow formation, we'd have even more defense, because then I'd be running like 2 or 3 Sparrow formations. Have a good offensive card and have 2 great offensive and defensive cards, and then have a great defensive card to not only protect my Harpie monsters, but to also stop a battle phase that I don't want to be involved in. So it's a lot of things that are here and there, and I'm glad that we have both of these cards right now. But I think, like I said, we do need a little more, but we're working with what we have. Um, as far as the rest of it goes, the anti-spell fragrances in the Harpie's hunting ground are pretty much combination keys. Controlling your opponent's amount of spells and traps they play, especially in the heavy spell oriented format, does help. Because Imperial Iron Wall isn't doing a lot of the floodgate traps. I think that's the issue. Is because if you're not a hand trap or you're not a monster that can do it for them, like a lot of players aren't going to run too many spells and traps unless they're counter traps. And by that point, you really do have to worry about a lot of the big spell pushes and a lot of decks that run the heavy spells. So with Harpies being such an old school deck, it has that access to run a large portion of its old school support. And anti-spell fragrance is still one of its most reliable old school support without having to be such an issue. As far as the Solemn Brigade goes, I just didn't add Judgment because I don't care how much life points I have, I still need to maintain something to not get run over. And that was the whole basis of just running the 2 strike, the 1 warning. Okay, so that's pretty much my analysis of my main. Let's go on to the extra. I'm not like most people, so I'm still rocking a set of Great Fly. Because Harpies don't have their own unique link monster, I rather just go for a generic monster in an overall sense. Great Fly gives that additional attack and defense. He can retrieve my wind monster, so I can go grab my Chandler back and go grab my Dancer, and stuff like that. He's really easy just to access, which I think a lot of people have to remember. If you can't easily access your monster, then there's no point in playing all these tokens and stuff like that. But if you can swarm your board with enough support, go for it. But I still don't see, the only way I get rid of Great Fly is unless newer stuff comes in that can support Wind in Winged Beast. And then probably consider Great Fly going down to like 2. But until then, I'm still rocking 3 Great Fly because it synergizes with my deck and the whole synopsis of what I built with the Harpie deck. In that same sense, the Rumadal is probably still here for that factor as well, because when you got to deal with banishing stuff, the Rumadal does help in that clear sense of getting a lot of stuff back. The only problem I have with the Rumadal is trying to keep the Rumadal's attack strength up high enough to really do the damage. And then, because it's not too hard to summon the Rumadal, like the Rumadal's still one of those last ditch effort summons, but it's still a process of trying to keep him high enough to really take out stuff. I think the best thing he can probably do is take out tokens, because it doesn't matter if the monster goes to the graveyard or not. As long as the monster is destroyed by battle, he can get you another Winged Beast monster. Or Beast Warrior, or Beast Monster, if you're running those decks as well. Or those supportive types. And Deco Talker is just probably an easy way to say I'm not running Firewall and stuff. And I just wanted something that I can quickly go into without having to sacrifice so much of my board to do such. Pretty much the rest of the extra deck is just self-explanatory. I have my 5 leading monsters for the Harpie engine: Chidori, Phantasmal, Thunder, Castell, and Ice Beast. As far as the whole thing with, life points and everything, that's why these 2 are still here. And what bigger fear to have a 2800 monster that can't be destroyed by a artifact can it possibly be? Big Eye and Bazooska, still 2 relatively awesome monsters and have relatively good advantages to them. And of course, our token maker himself, Galaxy Tomahawk. still a great monster and still overall great use. So that's pretty much it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll have more videos and stuff because I have a lot of new decks that I am pretty much on the ready to go. So thank you guys for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care and see you guys next time.